Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Hayes.
And I'm Steve Eagers. 9 o'clock. We begin right with that breaking news. Fox 4's Brandon Todd is near the shooting location with the latest on what he learned. Brandon, we know a police news conference just got finished. Tell us what you know.
Well, and everyone, of course, is wondering how that officer is doing. We're told by Fort Worth Police Department that he was in surgery. I have sources telling me he is now out of surgery, and it appears as though he's stabilized. His exact condition, though, is not being released at this point, but it is expected that he is, at least for now, going to be okay. Let's walk you through a little bit about how this happened. We have Sky 4 over the scene right now. We can take that video. Earlier this evening, we're told that Fort Worth Police received a distress call. What they were told by the woman in the house was that her adult son, who lived in that house, was not well, was not doing well. She was fearful of his condition. So Fort Worth police officers responded to this house on Hildring Avenue, and we're right next to South Cliff Baptist Church here, just to give you folks an idea of where in Fort Worth we are. They responded to that house. She directed them back to a back bedroom where he was. Officers made their way back to that bedroom, and now what's unclear, Steve and Heather, is whether they either opened the door or didn't open the door, but at some point when they got to the bedroom and tried to get inside that bedroom, we're told that that's when the man inside began firing at the officers. He struck one of the officers in the stomach. Those officers that were inside the house returned fire, shot back at the man, and that man was pronounced dead at the scene inside that house. The officer who was shot, we don't know his, sources have told me his name, but we are not cleared to release his name at this point. We're told that I know that he is a sergeant. He used to be a homicide detective as well, but we are told he was taken to Harris very quickly. And he was then rushed into surgery. At this point, there are dozens, literally dozens of officers here at the scene. Many of them, Steve and Heather, you know how this plays out. They hold their breath. They are just hoping that this officer is going to pull through this, that he's going to be okay. All of them keenly aware of the dangers of this job, and so are citizens here. Spoke earlier with the widow of former city councilman Chuck Silcox. She talked to us, and then just soon after that, the public information officer for the Fort Worth Police Department also spoke with us, and I want to give you a little bit about what they said right here.
Just pray for our officer. Pray for the family here at this house. But right now, pray for our officer.
You know, it's always difficult when an officer gets injured in the line of duty. We all do this job for the love of the job and for the love of the community, and we all know what can happen. But it is painful every time it happens across the country, and it's especially painful when it happens here at home.
Again, that officer, a sergeant here in the West Division. And Steve, you know, this basically speaks to the old saying, at least what police are always saying, is that no call is ever routine.
Right. Yeah, boy, that public information officer brought it home to everybody, I think, right there. Let me ask you, Brandon, do we know if the officers knew what they were getting into? A distress call, maybe they knew more. Do you know if they knew that the person in that back room had a gun? Do we know, had he been threatening? Do we know the nature of how deep they knew if they were getting in, what they were getting into?
Not to the extent that you would think. Police department tonight told us that when they have a distress call like that, it is listed as a priority 1. What we're getting reports of is that the police department was told that earlier in the evening, this gentleman may have been involved in some sort of traffic accident down in Benbrook. It's possible he may have displayed a weapon at some point during that. So it's unclear whether the woman inside the house gave them any indication that he may or may not have been armed. We have not been told that by a police department here on scene. But again, this is a situation where they were at least trying to check on the welfare of this man, and in the process, he returned fire. Steve?
Have you had a chance, I know you haven't had a chance to really run this suspect's name. You probably have that. Neighbors sometimes they'll come up in this situation and tell you this has been going on in this house, or things have been crazy in this neighborhood, or we know this guy, or he's a good guy, or whatever? Have you had a chance to learn anything about him? You know, what his background is as far as what might have led up to this distress call?
Well, neighbors aren't telling us much about what goes on inside that house, but they were well aware of who this man was. They say everybody sees him in the neighborhood because he mows the lawns here. He mows a lot of people's lawns. He's known as the lawn boy, and he is frequently seen in the neighborhood. There are some neighbors that haven't had great experiences with him, arguments, nothing of a serious nature, but this is basically the guy that everyone knows as the guy that cuts people's lawns. Steve?
All right, now I know earlier I saw some communication from you that kind of got a report the officer is stabilized and out of surgery. What are we hearing? I know officers have rushed there. Specifics on this officer's condition?
We don't have a specific condition yet. All we do know, my sources are telling me he is out of surgery and stabilized. You know, you'd like to think, Steve, that is a good thing. You'd like to think that means he's going to be okay. We're not being given the specifics, though, on scene here.
Right, and I don't want to overdo this, and I hope not to offend anybody, but do we know where his wound was? And that, you know, sometimes it might give you optimism if it was in the hand or something, or a torso is a more serious injury. Do we know anything like that?
Yes, we do know that he was shot in the abdomen, in the stomach.
Okay. All right, and we also don't
and that's
know,
about all we know.
Yeah.
Where in the stomach, where in the abdomen, that was unclear.
Okay. All right. Anything else you can add from the scene? You've been out there. I mean, we do this job. Anything else, or we just check back with you later?
No, just a lot of concern out here. I mean, you know, when an officer's shot, there are a lot of people that just sort of at that point hold their breath, hoping that he's going to be okay, and that's what they're doing tonight. Not just the residents here, but also police officers asking the community to pray.
Okay. Brandon Todd in a Fort Worth neighborhood tonight. Thank you very much.